Episode 17 of Coster's Cage. I'm your host, Dan Coster, and today's episode is a very special one. First in-studio interview, first YouTube video, and I'm happy to be joined by my guest, Raging Al Iaquinta. Al, thanks for coming on and coming here in the studio, man.
Oh yeah, this is awesome, man. Congratulations on everything. Big stuff going on. This is wow. I'm impressed. How long you been doing this now?
Here in studio, I mean, I've been here at Drake Media Studios for about 2 to 3 months interning right now, so you're making history on the show being the first guest.
Yeah.
In studio, that is. But yeah, I mean, my podcast would be, it's not big yet, but if I ever do get to that moment, you're gonna get all the credit because you nudged me to make a podcast in the middle of Corona, and here we are in the midst of episode 17. We're on our way, man.
No, it's incredible. It's yeah. I just could tell that you wanted to do it and you had the passion for it. You really fell in love with mixed martial arts during the pandemic. It seems like, and you have the personality for it. You're interested in learning it, and you also pick things up quick. So it's yeah. And I'm impressed with where you've come so far, and you just keep getting better every single interview and everything. So
Building blocks, man.
That's it.
Building
That's
blocks.
it,
I'm gonna take
man.
this headset off. Now, I want to kick it off with, growing up in Long Island. Obviously, I love hearing stories of pro athletes growing up in Long Island, their road to, stardom, I guess you could say, and being a pro athlete. So take me through your high school days, college days. I know we're alum, kinda, of Nassau Community College. Talk to me about the college days, how you got into MMA and all that good stuff.
I wrestled in high school. I just remember my parents were always they didn't wrestle, but my father was always he was a football coach, lacrosse coach, ocean lifeguard. He's a phys ed teacher, so retired phys ed teacher, but always in athletics. And he would always talk about his wrestling friends on like a different level. Like he would talk about his friends, and then when he was like, oh, he was a wrestler. No one messed with the wrestlers. He was like, just like the toughest guy, like humble. Just the way he described his friends that were wrestlers, I could tell that a person that was a wrestler stood out. You know what I mean? So for some reason, it stuck in my mind, and out of nowhere in middle school, I just wanted to sign up for the wrestling team. Signed up, and really just fell in love with it. It's a sport where you don't have to be the biggest, you don't have to be the strongest. It's really just you're in your own weight class, and if you work hard, you see results. And that's why I guess I really was drawn to wrestling. Wrestled throughout high school. Had decent, some good success. Made the county finals my senior year at Wanta High School, who's now dynasty in high school wrestling. We were kind of the beginning. We won the county as a team my senior year, and Wanta was really never a great wrestling school. And Coach Murphy, James Murphy, got hired at Wanta High School, and from there it was just off to the races. He kind of kick-started the kids program, the going to off-season tournaments. He would drive me to. He'd pick me up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, Sunday, and just take us to tournaments. He would work all night as a police officer, and then get off work and drive us to wrestling tournaments. Come back home, do it again. So he was a huge factor in it. He was just all in. He was all in, and he saw a lot of talent in our team. Raw talent. We weren't really polished. We would go to a wrestling camp maybe 1 week over the summer, but he really had us buy into the system, and he kind of like brainwashed us in the best way possible. We were just like anything he said, we did it, and he had our best interest. He knew that we were so like hardworking kids that were just hard nosed and a little bit of technique, and we had a lot of good results. I wrestled a year at Nassau Community College, but it was kind of like after my high school, when I was a senior in high school, is when I really started watching the UFC. A friend of mine, Kevin Jansen, was my neighbor, and on the wrestling team, he was big into UFC. He had an uncle that was loved it, and actually was a bouncer with Pete Dragosel. So he would always, they were into the fights. And I remember Kevin coming downstairs in the locker room when I was a senior, and he was like, Drago versus Baroni. And I was like, I didn't know what I was like, Drago versus, I was like, the guy I kind of knew like from Rocky. I was like, Drago, Baroni. I don't know who these guys are. And uh, it was two Long Island guys fighting each other. I ended up becoming very close with Pete Dragosel years later, but that was kind of the fight that really got me into it. And then from there, I was just like in it. I was buying DVDs. I was going to. I don't even remember what the DVD place in the mall. I don't think it still exists. But I'd buy a DVD. I'd save up money, buy a DVD, and watch the fights over and over again. Fall asleep watching the fights, wake up, watch them again, um, and that was kind of like my introduction to it. And we went to UFC 53. Me, Kevin Jansen, and Matt Pelicane, three guys on the wrestling team. We went to UFC 53
A long time
a
ago.
long time ago, 2005. Um, the main event was Andrei Arlovsky versus Justin Eilers.
How
Andrei
crazy is it
Arlovsky.
that Arlovsky's still in the UFC?
And that wasn't even like at the beginning. He had already been fighting for a long time. He was the heavyweight champion, and he beat Justin Eilers. Rest in peace, Justin Eilers passed away. He was a Milicic fighting guy that was just an absolute animal. Matt Serra fought that night for Cairo Parisian. I was that was like my introduction to Matt Serra. Kind of had known who he was, but as a Long Island guy, I always rooted for him, but never, I hadn't been really exposed to MMA. Rich Franklin fought Evan Tanner that night. Crazy fight. It was just like Nick Diaz fought. Nick Diaz fought Koji Oishi, knocked him out. But yeah, I was at that. I was at that fight, and just the energy in the UFC, the arena, when something happened, the whole place erupted. It was like a sporting event I'd never been to before. I've been to hockey games, football games, but it was just something about that energized me. I was wired. I was like, if I'm this energized and I have like my adrenaline's going just from watching this. We bought $200 tickets. We had decent seats at that point. Now 200 nosebleeds, but at that point we had decent seats, and I was like, I gotta know what it feels like to be in there. I was like, I'm gonna do it just once. I gotta freaking get in there. That was my thing, just once. I just want to do it just once. And then I wrestled that year, cut too much weight. Really was kind of like over wrestling at that point because I knew I was gonna fight eventually, and then got into fighting. Fought a bunch of amateur fights. Ended up at Team Saralongo, went pro, and the rest is history.
The rest is absolutely history. Turns out you made the right decision. So I think a big stepping stone in your career was the Ultimate Fighter, right? How old were you when you got the call, I guess, to be on the Ultimate Fighter?
So I was supposed to be on the Ultimate Fighter when I was like 22, 23. I made the show. I went to the tryouts and I made the cut, and I was going to be on the show. And a week before filming, maybe 2 weeks before, I was actually going to film and start the show, I punched one of my training partners in the head, and I broke my hand. And I was like, I'm still going. I'm still. I'll fight with one hand. And Ray Longo was like, dude, you're not going to fight with one hand. That's like, it sounds great now, but even if you win the first fight, you're gonna have to like fight. It's not gonna happen. So I got pulled out of that, and then I had 3 fights in the ring combat in between that time and when I got onto the Ultimate Fighter, the live season 15 with Uriah Faber and Dominic Cruz. And I think it all was like a blessing. Those 3 fights one of them was an absolute war where I really pushed myself, and I was pushed by my opponent, Gabriel Miglioli, Brazilian guy, from Brazil. We didn't know how many fights he had. You look on ShareDog, he's got 5 fights. You look on MMA Underground, he's got 10 other fights. So we were like, I don't know, this guy could have 10 fights or he could have 30 fights. Fought him absolute war. I ended up finding out afterwards that the fight or 2 before me was Rafael dos Anjos. He lost.
Wow.
He lost like a split a decision to Rafael dos Anjos right before he fought me. That was kind of, a really big fight in my career. I was like pushed. I lost the first round, got beat up pretty bad, came back in the second, won the third, split decision win, immediate rematch. I kicked him right in his eye, and it was like a quick win. I was dreading the rematch. I was like, I pushed myself to the limit in that last fight, and I was like, I knew it was going to be an absolute war. I was prepared to freaking die in there. And I go out there, and I throw one push kick, and it hits him right in the eye. Go finish him. Victory, like 40 seconds. And then the fight after that was Pat Audenwood. I lost by armbar. So I had to, it was my first loss as a pro. And I had to, it kind of humbled me, I was undefeated as an amateur, undefeated as a pro. I think if I would have went on to the Ultimate Fighter undefeated, I don't know, might not have worked out the same way, but I definitely kind of re-evaluated things, re-motivated myself, and then got the call pretty soon after that to be on the Ultimate Fighter. Yeah.
So, when you're on the Ultimate Fighter, a ton of pressure, right? Did you kind of sense the pressure building after each win on the Ultimate Fighter? Because a lot of these guys, they go on the show and then they kind of phase out and you don't hear anything from them.
Yeah. I think, to be honest with you, I think maybe the pressure might have gotten less each fight.
Interesting.
Because if you lose the first fight, it's like you got there, but like you said, people are going to kind of, the further you get, I think the relief kind of, and it was 13 weeks. It was live on the show, so we were there 13 weeks long, and yeah, I didn't want to be one of the guys that was in the house without, just kind of like there.
Yeah, that sucks.
You want to stay. I wanted to be in the game, and the longer I went, like I just did. The first fight I had a lot of pressure on me. I remember, it was Miles Jury, tough fight, and I was like, I think it was 4 weeks in, so I'm like, if I lose this fight, it's 9 weeks of like training for nothing. For what? You know what I mean? So I had to stay in the game, and each win gave me a little bit more comfort that I was, I stayed in, I was in there, and I could feel we were locked in the house, so we couldn't really like see what was going on in the media and everything, but you could kind of like feel it, and I felt like I was coming off pretty good, and it was what I had envisioned.
So you would say that was a big step in your career, kind of making it to the finals. Obviously, things didn't go your way versus Chiesa, but I mean, you feel like that. Let's say you didn't make it to the finals. You think you still would have been in the UFC or close, or?
I mean, it gave me a great jump start.
Right.
I learned I had Uriah Faber as a coach, as a tough coach. Uriah Faber has to be one of the best. He brought the whole team alpha male, who were guys around my weight, maybe a little bit smaller, which were perfect to train with. Long grueling camp, you're working with smaller guys that are faster and keep you on your toes, but they're not really kind of beating you up. But I learned so much. They were all guys in the UFC, guys that were D1 wrestlers. Chad Mendez, Danny Castillo, Joseph Benavidez, TJ Dillashaw, and then Uriah Faber and Lance Palmer. Those were the guys that were in the room every day, along with 8 of the top prospects in the world. So it couldn't have been, and we didn't have anything to worry about. Eat, sleep, train, that was it. So for me, and Uriah brought in, I kind of was exposed to real estate through Uriah, and that was a big thing for him, was investing your money wisely. He had taught us about his operation in Sacramento with his houses, how he rents out, how he buys a house, rented it out, buys a house, rented it out, kind of like owned the whole block. Motivational coaches he would bring in. It was like 13 weeks of concentrated knowledge.
Sounds like a heaven for an MMA prospect. Honestly.
Yeah, but people were complaining. They were like, "Oh, I miss my dog and my girlfriend and this and that." And I was just like, "Yeah, I'm taking this as much as I can learn. I'm soaking it in." Yeah, it was incredible.
So I want to jump into the midst of your UFC career here. Fairfax, Virginia. You probably know where I'm going with this one. You're 5-1 going into the Masvidal fight. You squeak out the win. I thought you won the fight. Obviously, I'm not even being biased. I thought you got rounds 2 and 3. You give that crowd a piece of your mind. Reflect on that. What's going through your head when the crowd's booing you? Obviously, you gave Anik, a nice little interview that's going on in MMA history now. But talk to me about what was going through your mind when you got the win to when you're walking out of the arena, basically, and like reflecting on it just like, let's say, 20 minutes after the fact.
I knew that I was going to win that fight. Like when the fight was over, and then as time went on between the end of the fight and them reading the judges' scorecards, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I won the second and third round. I was like, the only way they could score it was if it was a 10-8, it would be a draw. I was like, I think I got the second and third. Close. I won close second and third, but he clearly won the first. And you'll see when they say 29-28 Masvidal, then they go 29-28 Iaquinta, and they go 29-28, and I put my finger up, and I was like, I knew, I was like, I won this fight, and everyone is gonna hate me because I won this fight. I knew that was happening, and then once they started booing, I was like, this. I always, whenever fighters fought and the crowd booed, I would always watch and I'd be like, dude, just freaking tell them to go F themselves. You know what I mean? What? They would be like, oh, come on, I fought hard. And they'd be, F you. You're freaking sitting there. Well, who are you to boo? If you boo, don't freaking boo me.
Whatever, man. Are you guys booing me? You better not boo me. I fought my ass off. You.
So I kind of just like lost control of my body, and it was like an out of body experience, and I did it, and I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now. And then I just kind of like walked out of the cage. I for a second thought about just like keep going and just yelling at everybody, and then Ray and Matt were like, calm down, and I couldn't really understand what was going on. I couldn't the capacity of what it was like. I was short circuiting, but them telling me to calm down, I think really brought me down to earth, and I kind of just walked out of the cage. And as I was walking out like I was tough. I was like, yeah, F everybody. But in the back of my head, I'm like, what the hell did I just do? Like, what is gonna happen? What is gonna come about because of this? And it ended up being a good thing. I think people respected the realness, and I really did. I fought hard. I got some scars from that fight, and I definitely put it out there for those fans. So for them to boo me, not the best idea.
What did Longo and Sarah say to you like 20 minutes after the fact when you walk into the locker room? Do you remember? Is it just like quietness or awkward quietness, or were they like, "That's right, Al," like what they?
No, I think they were just like, "You won that fight. You won the fight." And I remember one of the, I think everyone thought it was like the worst thing that I did. For like right after it happened, we were kind of trying to play, like fix. How can we fix that? I did this. Like, how can we like get ahead of it and kind of
correct it?
Kind of like correct it. And then one of the UFC PR guys came up to me and he was like, yeah, you might think right now that this is bad. We can make this could be really good for you. And he's like, this isn't the worst thing. And I was like, huh. But yeah, it was after the fight. That's what everyone was talking about. Everyone was talking about me giving it to the crowd. So yeah, it ended up being a good thing, and people still they'll see me, at fights and stuff. They'll be, you booing me? You booing me?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you mentioned the real estate before. Did you jump into the real estate after the Masvidal fight, or when did you jump into real estate like heavy? And
Yeah, it was after the Masvidal fight. Um, I was supposed to fight Gilbert Melendez, and my knee was just killing me. My body was just hurting. So when he tested positive, I elected to have surgery, and the surgery took a really really long time to even just be able to train. And with the surgery, I had a few doctors, one in particular, was like, yeah, if you have this surgery, you might not be fighting again. So I was like, oh shit, like what the hell? I had just bought a house maybe a year or two before that, and I remember saying, man, I could do this. My real estate agent showed me the first house. All I wanted was a house with a big garage because I wanted to train people. So the first house she showed me was a house with a detached 2-car garage with a shower in it. The guy already had a gym. It was already a gym. So I was one and done. It was the easiest sale she's ever had. And I was like, well, if she could do that, I could do that. Little did I know, it's not as easy as it looks, but I did. I got my license. I started selling real estate, remembering what Uriah Faber had done. And, just real estate always intrigued me. I was like, I wanted to buy a house as soon as I was able to afford it. And then just being around it, I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn about, selling real estate. And yeah, it definitely was a big learning curve. But I work just as hard in real estate as I did in preparing for a fight. That's like the only way I know how to do it. So I think I have an advantage over a lot of these people who are doing real estate because they just, that's, they're not working as hard as me. Let's put it that way.
I don't know. I'm selling houses. If you're selling a house, hit me up.
so I want to know why other fighters like poke fun at you for being a real estate agent. Like, why is that like?
Fighters poke fun at me, and
Makes no sense.
Fans, they poke fun. Oh, go sell houses. All right, I'm doing it. I freaking listen. I enjoy. I work with my friends, and I hang out. We go look at houses together, and I get a commission check for, doing. I put in a lot of hard work. I put in a lot of hard work, and I've done it. I know what I'm doing now. Yeah, I'm very confident in my skills, and what you get, it's like it is. It's it is. It's funny when people like poke fun at it. It's like I got something, I got hurt fighting, and I didn't complain. I didn't make any excuses for anything that's happened along the way. I just freaking keep working. There's no stopping me. I get my real estate license. I sold like 7 houses my first year. Not bad.
Not bad.
While fighting, I think the year I fought Khabib, I sold like 14, 15 houses.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and it's like probably could have put more eggs in the fighting basket, but it's so unstable. Fighting is, you're here today, you're gone tomorrow. I think I've really set myself up for the future and learned the industry and more with the investment side of real estate now. That, you make the money from fighting, buy a house that makes you more money, and that pays for everything rather than just spending that money. A lot of these guys making way more than I made. They're just blowing their money. You got to invest it and make those investments will pay for everything you need to do, and that you'll have your whole life. And it's an appreciating asset. You buy a house, every year the market, the trend is going up. Might take a dip here and there, might level off, but for the most part, real estate, you can't lose, especially on Long Island. It's an island. They're not making much more land. They're not expanding. It's the prices are they're going up.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned fighters' pay in a sense. How much did that influence you to like go into the real estate? Obviously you were making pretty good fight money, but like, it's not 200,000, whatever it is, can't last you for 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
How much did that play a factor in it? Because I know you and Dana kind of back in the day had a little.
Well, I thought to be honest with you, I didn't really know if I was fighting ever again. So I was like, might as well just go nuts.
True.
You know what I mean? I was out. I was on a win streak, and I was kind of like, this might be it for me. Might as well just go out on my shield, tell the boss to go F himself if I'm not going to fight again anyway. And it ended up working out because although I was out for that year or 2 years, me, causing a ruckus and a riot, going after the boss of the UFC kept me in kept me kind of in the spotlight. And then
Right.
when I fought Diego, and then a year later when I fought Khabib, I mean, I was out for I had fought one fight in like 2 or 3 years, and I fought for the belt at the Barclays Center. So I definitely kept myself in the mix.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll shift to that right now. UFC 223. I mean, what a ridiculous week that was for you, man. I mean, you were rolling in the UFC. You were 9-1. Scheduled to fight Paul Felder. You got better memory than I do about this whole week going down, obviously. Holloway was supposed to step in and fight. He can't make weight. Tony Ferguson trips over a wire. He's done. How did you end up being the guy?
I just went down there and I told him that I wanted it. I wanted to be the guy. I was like, at the time, because of all the nonsense that Sean Shelby and all those guys, they weren't very big fans of mine. So I went down to the lobby. I heard that Holloway was out. I went down to the lobby and I was like yelling at Shelby from across the room. I was like, Shelby, I'm your guy. And I told him that I wanted to fight. My manager talked to them, and then I got a call, a little while later, and it was on. Yeah.
It's crazy. So now you weighed in, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you weighed in versus Felder, and then you got on the bus, and that's when Connor lost his mind, or?
The bus was before.
The bus was before.
The bus was on Thursday night. Weigh-ins are Friday morning. So we got on the bus to media? It was like the press conference or media day or whatever. They did the stare down. So I stared. I had to stare down with Felder. We get on the bus to go back to the hotel, and absolute mayhem. Yeah, it was. We get on the bus, and the bus is just starting to back out, and first I heard banging on the windows, like I thought they were running somebody over. The bus had just started slowly pulling away, so I was like, "Shit!" They're like, "Stop! You're freaking killing somebody or something." I was like, "That's not good." Then they were banging too loud. I was like, "This is not. This is like." At first, I thought fans actually. Then I thought they were running people over because it was too loud, too aggressive. And then something came flying through the window, and I was like, "Shh!" I was like, "What the heck?" I thought could have been like a shooting. I thought it could have been terrorist thing. I had no idea. Everyone was, "What the hell is going on?" And then you see Connor come around the other side, and he starts yelling. Khabib was sitting right behind me. He was just yelling in Khabib's face right behind me, and bus pulled away, and that was it.
What did Khabib say on the bus? I'm sure he had to.
He was saying, "Let's go." He was saying, "Let's go, let's go." He was like, "Let's go out, let's go out."
They should have let him out.
Everybody, the UFC guys were in the front. The
Security.
yes, like security, like the higher kind of Reed Harris and Chris Pavino. They weren't about to let anybody off that bus.
So you fight Khabib on less than 24 hours notice. I mean, you might be the only guy willing to sign that line. What was the game plan going in? Did you want to go for broke? I mean, was there even a game plan going in? What did Longo tell you? Like, what was the advice going in?
They felt pretty confident. I mean, really just didn't want to. I didn't want to get pushed up against the cage, which like right off the bat I went right forward right after him, and then it forced him to take a shot in the middle of the cage, which I was kind of not expecting. Got me down, and from there, the first 2 rounds, he really just he controlled me with the wrestling, and I've been training for a striker, so
And 3 rounds.
yeah, in 3 rounds. So like round 3, 4, and 5, I feel like I was just kind of like a little slower than I would have been, and not prepared for 5 rounds. So yeah, it was definitely not my best performance. If would it have gone any other way if I had been prepared for it? I don't know, but I mean, definitely just went in there and just wanted to have fun and let it roll, let it ride.
What makes Khabib's wrestling, like, obviously he's got the Dagestani handcuffs, his sheer strength, but I mean, what surprised you in there? That, did he get a hold of you and you were just like, oh my god, this guy's like just man-child strong? Like, what?
I mean, he's strong, but it's just like where he puts his weight. He knows. It's like you can just tell he's been doing that his whole life, and that's it's just he's got his system, and he's perfect at getting you into his system against the cage. He's got great trips. He's great at getting you against the cage. I knew not to get into the cage, and I still got caught up against the cage a few times, and he got me down. And then from there, he's got, like you said, the handcuffs, the ground control. His control is great. So he's very good at what he does, and then he's very good at getting you to where he needs to be to execute. And then I think he did a good job with me with his stand up. I did eventually stop some of his takedowns, and he was confident in his hands, and he had a good jab. The fight after me, he dropped Connor with the overhand. So I mean, his wrestling definitely opens up his stand up.
Right.
I think it's a little unorthodox, his stand up, and he'll move his head back in ways that are a little different. But you can't really overcommit because he'll get you down.
Right. I mean, you did pretty good on the takedowns. You stuffed 9 of 15, like,
Yeah,
on a day's notice. I mean,
not bad training for a striker. You know what I mean? But I one thing my dad, he said to me, was like, you've been training, you're taking this on a day's notice, but you've been training this your whole life. You wrestled, you went to in the summers you were at wrestling camp. You went to University of Minnesota, J. Robinson, 28-day intensive camp, 2 summers in a row. Like, this is, you're getting this on short notice, but you got a lifetime's worth of work to back it up. And that's what I kind of relied on.
so, I mean, when Khabib calls you the Brooklyn Gangsta, is that the nicest or best compliment a fighter has given you?
It's pretty funny, right? The fight was in Brooklyn, so I guess it's Brooklyn.
Right.
He thought of Brooklyn. I'm a Long Island guy,
Right.
but it was like, I'll take it, Brooklyn gangster. You know what I mean? It just kind of it fits.
Now, when I rewatched that fight, there was some talking going on. You were talking to him, I think, a little. He was talking to you. What was said? If you can remember.
He hit me with a jab, and hit me with another jab, and I was like, "Yeah, come on, one more." And then he like faked the jab. So we were going back and forth, and I hit him with a jab, and I say something, and we was kind of like, yeah, just jabbing back and forth. Yeah. And then against the cage, we were in our corner, and he had me towards the end of the fight, and Matt Serra's giving me instructions, and Khabib's going, yeah, good advice. And Matt's like, no, I'm talking to him. He goes, no, I know you're talking to him. It's good advice. He's funny.
So let's shift to the more recent stuff. I mean, you went to Georgia with Merab and Aljo. I'm not talking about Atlanta, Georgia. I'm talking about the country. How was the trip?
The Republic of Georgia. Baby. Oh, my God.
How was the trip? How was the food, the culture?
Incredible. Those people are really incredible people. They love guests. They have a saying, the guests are from the gods. So whenever a guest comes, and then we were with Merab, who's like freaking, he's the king. He's Elvis Presley of the Republic of Georgia. Excuse me. They really treated us incredibly. It was like the royal treatment. They really the food was great. The people were great. The nature, the rivers and streams, and mountains.
Yeah, those mountains were crazy.
Was fresh. The food was so clean, and you could just tell that they hadn't been. They're like a little more. Just they haven't been tainted by all the craziness that goes on in America. It's so a lot more simple, a lot more conversation. Even like at dinner, they appreciate everything. Everyone that's there, they appreciate you, and they tell you, they give a toast. Everyone gives like a little toast, and that's something that I really took back, is just to don't just eat and whatever, really appreciate who you're with and why you're there and who's brought everybody to the table together. There's a reason why you all ended up there, and appreciate it and let everyone know why you appreciate it.
Now, I want to shift to a guy that I see in your comments all the time, chirping you. You chirp back. Dylan Danis. I mean, what's going on with this guy?
That guy's the worst.
How did this trash talk start?
I don't know. I think he's a nerd. He's a jiu-jitsu nerd. Like he's trying to be an MMA guy, but he just can't fight. So he just he was like minus 1,200 in his fight. He's favored. If you pull guard, you're pulling guard when you're minus 1,200. I don't know. It's not the kind of fight I would never want to be like that. He's going against the guy that like can barely tie his shoes and chew bubblegum, and he's going for a heel hooking the guy. What the heck?
So obviously he's boys with Conor. Conor, before he fought Dustin the second time in Abu Dhabi, called you out. I mean, what do you make of that? Do you think that's a fight that makes sense down the line?
Hey, down the line it could happen. I mean, we'll see what happens with him coming back and everything, but never say never.
So, I mean, also in your comments all the time, you see people saying, oh, when are you fighting again? When are you fighting again? Tell the people why the layoff. It's because of you've been nicked up, right? So
yeah, I'm not gonna come. If I come back, it's gonna be a good fight, and I gotta feel good. I gotta be, I gotta be 100%. I gotta be 100%, and it's gotta be a good fight that really gets me going.
Now I saw you called out Tony Ferguson. How does November 6th sound at MSG? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's too interested in it, so I don't know.
Would you like to fight on that MSG card? Or?
I'd like to be on that card. I think the timing would work out good. I think everything would be great. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's definitely a fight that's definitely a card that interests me. It's getting kind of full now, so we'll see what happens.
You think you'll be in there by the end of the year?
God willing.
God willing. All right. So before I let you go, I want to do some quick hitters here. Just
Ooh,
fun questions. Yeah, quick hitters. Best ref in the UFC?
Little guy.
Herzog?
Yeah, Herzog's a good ref.
I agree. I think Herzog's the best.
Ref. I trained with him. He's knowledgeable. Keith Peterson. No nonsense.
Like no nonsense?
No nonsense is another guy. Long Island guy.
Is he?
Long Island guy.
I didn't know that.
He's had some fights. He's from Islip. He's I see him at the beach every now and then.
That's funny.
He's a guy that he's no nonsense. He's
Absolutely
in there
not.
and he's fought before. He's definitely it's kind of like the guys you don't really hear too much about Herzog, and you don't hear other than Dominic Cruz throwing his little temper tantrum. Like you think the guy was drunk when he was reffing your fight. Yeah, that's why he lost, because the ref was drunk. But no, those guys are great refs, and Herzog, he great work on analyzing my description, because I said little guy, black hair, and you said Herzog. Like,
I mean, it can't be Herb Dean. It can't be Mark Smith. Tyone's bald.
That was good, really good.
I think Herzog's I don't see him screwing up many stoppages or anything like that.
No, you don't see that, and when I fought Mitch Clark, I got choked out, and he was right on top of it. That could have went on a little too long if a ref was a little lackadaisical, and he was right on top of it. I went out fast. I was out like that, like too quick, and he done. You know, he stopped him, got him right off of me, and I think that was you know. At that point I never really I was like, oh, you get choked out, you get whatever, doesn't matter. But if you get choked out and the ref is you've seen some horror stories of guys.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that guy is unconscious, and the ref is just like
Standing there.
it's like you got to stop that fight because that's like brain damage, you know.
Outside, it could be toughest guy you fought.
Toughest. No, there's definitely different types of toughness. Like, I think I got beat up the worst in the cowboy fight. Yeah, probably might, but I think Masvidal was like the toughest. He was more. He was probably the better skilled. Yeah, I'd say probably those guys.
Your biggest UFC win.
Probably Kevin Lee. Probably the second Kevin Lee fight. That was a pretty big one.
That was after the Khabib fight.
After the Khabib fight, he'd been talking a whole bunch of trash. Yeah, that was a good one. That was one that I was not losing.
Favorite arena or country you fought in?
Sydney, Australia. I fought Royce Pearson in Sydney. I think it was at like the Olympic Village in Sydney, Australia. It was pretty wild. Went out there 10 days early. Seasons are opposite, so when it's winter here, it's summer there. It was like November, so it just started getting cold here. Show up there, it just started getting warm. Stayed there for like 2 weeks after with Aljo. Just cruised up and down the coast of Australia. It turned into summer while we were there. It was like we went up to Cairns in the Great Barrier Reef and won the fight easy. So it was
a good vacay.
Australia was sick, man. Sydney, Australia. Those are my people too. The people there are great. They're like New Yorkers. They work hard and they play hard.
Worst trash talker in the UFC that thinks they're a good one.
The worst trash talker that thinks he's a good one. I'm having trouble thinking right now because there's definitely guys who's like, dude, just it's not good. I mean, Kevin Lee is never good. Kevin Lee's never good. The guy Fiziev, he's not a bad. He's not a trash talker. He's just kind of like weird. You know what I mean?
He called you out too in the past.
Yeah, he's called me out too. He what did he say? He was
He called out Hezbollah.
Yeah, that's a little okay. Yeah, wow. He goes Hezbollah. You were then in the press conference afterwards, he was like, "This was good night. This was like long sex, no condom." You're comparing the fight to that? I don't know what the hell those guys do wherever he's from, but that was a little weird. I don't know, but it's not the worst. It's not really trash talk. I think he's just like, I don't know. I think he's either not being himself or I don't know what he's trying to do. Calling out. Just say hi to Hezbollah. What are you gonna fight a little guy, a kid guy? Are you gonna fight the kid guy? You're calling him out, or just say hi, Hezbollah. Please recognize me. I'm a fan of yours. That's it. Don't call him out like you're gonna fight. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, bizarre. You're welcome to the UFC moment. What was like, first fight maybe? Like, did you get hit with a hard jab and you were like, oh damn, like I'm in the UFC now? What was that moment? Was it like a press conference, or did you see like a fighter walking down the hallway and you're like, damn, I'm here right now?
I think it was there was the always the Dana White speech when you get to the Ultimate Fighter. He stands everyone before the fight to get into the house, and it's the day before you weigh in or whatever it is, and he just gives this little speech, and I was like, I watched this on TV, and now I'm here. This is sick. And then the other one was in Milwaukee when I fought my like real actual debut. It was in a big arena. You know, the Ultimate Fighter. Even the finale was at the Palms, the Pearl at the Palms. I think it's kind of a smaller venue, similar to like a Ring of Combat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I kind of had been there before, but when I fought in Milwaukee, damn, I forget the name of the arena, but they ended up switching arena. But that was the first arena show that was like I walked out and I was like, yo, this is the real deal. And I heard I was in kind of the prelim, so it was still empty. You know, the floor seats are usually still empty. And I could hear my friends all the way up there, oh, yo, Quinta. And I was like, yo, this is awesome. It was like from fighting in gym shows and crazy little shows to now I'm fighting in this. You can't see everything.
Yeah.
It's like so big and wide open, and you're walking out, and yeah, it's cool.
Best pizza spot on Long Island. Free advertisement right here.
Oh man, there's so many.
What's your go-to?
Stella's in Wantor has some pretty good like specialty slices. Gino's in New Hyde Park and I like the Wantor. You know what I mean? Wantor has good places. Wantor, you really good restaurants, good bars, good pizza. Most of the spots in Wantor have good pizza.
Umberto's guy or no?
More of a Gino's.
Are you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why?
I like Umberto's. I don't know. I think it's like levels better. Like
I think
Umberto's in
each one-
Wantor by
yeah.
Ibarone's.
Yeah,
That's my spot.
Yeah. They're good over there. Gino's Chicken Parm Heroes. That's like, you know, if you're having a good day, you're like
Shove one of those down.
You're like, I deserve a freaking Gino's Chicken Parm Hero. If you're having a bad day, there's nothing that makes you feel better than there's no bad time for a Gino's Chicken Color Parmesan Hero.
Favorite moment in your career?
Probably yelling in Kevin Lee's face. That's probably one of the better ones. I like cursing out the crowd at Fairfax is good. A few things on the Ultimate Fighter. The fight against Miles Jury was a big one. Doing some of the things that I did. I put him in a spladle in that fight. I didn't get to finish, but it's an old school wrestling move. There's very few people who knew what really was going on, but I remember Lance Palmer, I got out and he was like, dude, did you spladle him? And I was like, yeah, man. And it got a lot of people that knew wrestling were impressed by that. That was pretty cool. And the elbow against Andy Ogle. And all
That elbow is just...
Yeah.
You put him into a different planet with that elbow.
I felt bad about that one. That was my guy. I liked Andy Ogle.
Biggest regret while fighting, if there is one?
While fighting, probably would just be like resting more. I was so crazy. Like, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe would I have gotten as far if I was... You know, I did party a lot, like go out at night, and I'd be out till like 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I just spar the next day, get beat up the first round, and then kind of get into it. And I always worked hard, but there were a couple times where guys were like, "You smell like vodka," and I was like, "Yeah, I had a late night," but I always worked my ass off. I never used it as an excuse. I always was early at the gym, no matter how late I was out. I was at the gym, I was early, and I worked harder than everybody. But, yeah, I mean, just probably maybe a little bit more rest, a little bit more not burning the candle at both ends in that aspect. But, you know, because that really didn't get you anywhere. The party, it's fun at the time. You know, you go out, you drink, you can go down to Long Beach. But it's, yeah, that would probably be my biggest regret. But I have some good friends, and we had some good times. We have some good stories, so...
That's all that matters, right?
Yeah, you know, and it was like good stories, and I woke up the next day and freaking sparred some tough guys, preparing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Last one before I get you out of here. Are we training tonight?
I think we are.
8?
If I'm not there, someone will be there.
All right.
I've been all over the place. We got Justin the Kid is fighting. Justin the Kid is fighting Friday night at Bellator at Mohegan Sun.
Episode number 1 on my show is Justin Kid Marvelous.
Isn't that incredible?
Yes, and that was recorded on my phone.
And I tell you what, something about that guy, he is absolutely crazy.
You need that, though.
And you need, if you want to, I was watching his post-fight interview from his last fight. They put up a highlight of him, and he's like, I'll beat anybody. I'm here. I'm ready. And he's like almost crying.
I saw that video.
And I was like, yo, that's scary. You think you can beat a guy like that? You think if that guy wanted to do anything in the world, that you're stopping him? If that level of passion and that level of commitment, that you want this so bad that you just knocked out a guy, you want the next guy, you're crying, freaking talking about it, all the work you put in, all the hard work. That's a guy that you got to look at. The guy's out of his mind. But if you want something that bad enough, that's how crazy you got to be.
Guess what? He'll get it.
Yeah,
he's that hungry.
I think he's on his way. He's working hard. He's got great coaches. He's a little hard-headed, but sometimes he's one of those guys where it just works out for you. You do things your way, and if you have the right people kind of guiding you, and I mean, he puts himself in some bad positions, but he gets himself out of it because he's so, you can't choke the guy. He's very hard to choke, and you try to choke him, you're gonna gas your arms out, get up to the feet, and he doesn't stop. He's in your face. He's long. He can keep you at a distance to where you gotta do something, and if you burn yourself out trying to get a choke or keep him down, anything, he's gonna pick you apart. Body shots, gets you tired. He's like a Terminator.
Al, thank you so much, man, for coming on. This was fun as hell. But before we leave, tell everybody where they could find your new podcast. If they want to sell a house, where they could contact you there. Anything else you want to say? The floor is yours.
If you are looking to buy, sell, or rent anywhere in the United States of America, at Al Iaquinta on Twitter, at Al Iaquinta on Instagram. Serious inquiries only. The Call Me Al show airs live Thursday nights, 6 p.m. on Haps, on YouTube, and you can also find it, I believe, on my Instagram and Twitter. Got some you have a great guest right here. I don't have any guests near, but yeah, but we get some callers in. That the callers are
trolls.
The callers, we get some trolls calling in. We get some great people calling in. I think that's what is a little entertaining about this. Anyone can call in, so you guys can call in and talk. We got some interesting stuff going on the Call Me Al show.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. For more UFC content, follow us over on Instagram at Coster's Cage.
Awesome, man. Good stuff.
Appreciate you.